Next up, I think the upcoming heavy record of this month that'll be catching the eye of kind of the most people comes from Spiritworld. It's called Deathwestern. We covered their first album, Pagan Rhythms, in 2020 when it was first self-released, later re-released again by Century Media, I believe. And there they were kind of like another cool name in a fairly populated sea of newer, power trip and crossover tinged hardcore and metal acts that were kind of vying for space. It's this year that Spiritworld have like clicked in my mind as being a kind of distinct act to make note of between the tracks that were coming out of this album, which is their debut for Century Media proper, and particularly seeing them live at Bloodstock as me and you did, Elliot.
Oh, I didn't catch the Bloodstock this year. I was only there on the Sunday.
Oh shit!
After listening to this,
I thought I remember us talking about them looking like cowboys.
Oh no, that was me looking at their Spotify.
Right, there you go.
Cover looking
I saw them anyway, and they looked like cowboys. And they were like, these very dapper gentlemen, and they were kind of like, had this sort of confidence of moving around on stage that I thought it's not just like, when you go rock up and there's a band like Broken Teeth or someone playing, it's like, okay, this is hardcore. There's something particular that's going on with Spiritworld, and if Skin Failures like crossover thrash tinge is more manic and unpredictable, Spiritworld have fucking presence. This record is hulking. This record is mean. The word I keep thinking of is just like confident and assured, because it's got a groove and it is so in command of that groove, and it has that kind of outlaw swagger and that conviction that just makes you want to get involved in it.
Assured is absolutely the right word, because even just everything about this band, from the album artwork, the album artwork, the title Deathwestern, they have got their image, their aesthetic, their kind of like their whole shtick nailed down, and they're so confident in this like horror cowboy western with this hulking mean like crossover thrash hardcore groove metal, just kind of like smack you around the head. It is so confident and assured of itself, and like I've had just the best time with this record, because it's not like, say, there are other thrash records we were talking about, one we wanted to do and one we're going to do that are probably a bit more diverse and a bit more accomplished in a lot of ways, but in terms of just making me want to swing my fist and headbang and just fucking have a good time, this is the one for me.
This is one of the most just like built to swing your fist records of 2022.
Yeah, totally. Like the Get the Shot album is the only other one I'd probably, and like the Malevolence, I'd put this in that category of just like, I want to just go when I hear this.
Well, I think the level of conviction is really the thing that sells it, because as you were saying, the thing about horror, cowboy, crossover, hardcore, thrash and all that, it's almost getting close to like Gwar territory, like that sort of level of silly. So when we started talking about this band, I was sort of slightly suspicious of them, but the level of conviction and how well realised the whole package is, like the album cover, perfect example. I mean, it looks like Hell Awaits, but set in Death Valley. Like, again, it's such great ideas all over it. It's the sort of thing where you think, oh, fuck, I bet everyone's kicking themselves wishing they'd thought of it, because the whole thing hangs together so brilliantly. And yeah, I mean, 11 songs, 32 minutes, and it's just a whirlwind of Slayer, Cro-Mags, Bolt Thrower,
dive bombs,
exactly,
all over the place, like
chef kiss.
Yeah, like the cover art is one of the best of the year. Like, it's the perfect mix of horror and western. The singer, I found out he wrote a book of like western set horror short stories that links into like the lyrics of the records, and I want to read that now, because I look at that and it's such a cool vibe, and this band are so fucking cool, and you can't help but apply this kind of like Clint Eastwood idea of that with the aesthetic and everything. Like, the intro track is that, but as it goes through and has that just that real just conviction in powering along in a, you could call it one-dimensional, but it's a fucking great dimension, and they do it so powerfully. The power stomp on Relic of Damnation is so thick, and I think so able to be carried on big stages, which I think is the thing Spiritworld are getting here more than like many of their peers do. Yeah. There is this like power groove sensibility, which is so accessible to anyone who's gotten into metal since Pantera, and you can totally imagine putting that on like any open-air metal stage and getting people into it, and you throw in a few of the hooks with, the Relic of Damnation, damnation, back and forth, crucified, heathen scum, which is such a cool song for how short it is. Like, does that gang vocal once, and then like a slam drop and out.
Relic of Damnation reminded me of Executioner's Tax, when it actually properly comes in swinging, and like that is like a huge compliment. That they are writing like big bangs, and you're right. There's loads of lines across this record that are just like that you want to shout along on the Heretic Butcher. The I am the sword, I am the shield, like or like I am the shield, I am the sword, like that. There's just loads of the sound which you can just imagine sticking that on a festival stage and just getting people pumping their fists and just shouting along with it. And it's so like well prepared for just being that band who you can just be like, we're going to appeal to the moshers, to like the hardcore kids. Everyone's going to want to get in on this.
Yeah, there is actual crossover appeal between a few different sort of sub-scenes, I guess, with this.
Well, when Executioner's Tax came out back in 2017, I remember thinking then, like, how have they managed to isolate the perfect headbanging tempo and see that through for the whole song? And Spiritworld have taken that exact principle by taking that, Raining Blood breakdown register and just going 32 minutes non-stop. After the sort of CCR intro, after that, it's just like, that's the best bit on one of the best albums of all time. We're going to hammer that until you're sick of it. And you don't, because it's one of the best things, one of the best noises ever produced.
They do just do the Slayer 4/4 breakdown so well. It's just nasty, and that sound truly is music to my ears. And it's like they've taken that specific element of Slayer sound and tried to make it not so creepy, but just as meaty as possible. And the dive bombs, my word, they are not stingy with them. They are dishing them out like they know it's nearly Christmas. The one at the start of Purified and Violence, which is such a fun, crazy riff anyway, every single one is like, pulling the roller coaster up to its highest point and then just letting it go. Woo!
Yeah, no, the one, it's the most obnoxious dive bomb, that one on Purified and Violence. But then
there's like a disco beat in that song as well. Like, it's just such good circle pitting metal fare.
It's so like fired up and ready to fight the Sam. It's Crucified Heathen Scum is the one that gets me, where it's just like the sub 2 minutes, and when they lay into that breakdown at the end of that song, and again, it's a really just simple chugging breakdown at that point, but they lay into it so hard that it's like you can't not just be like, oh, that is mean and meaty, like.
Well, it's the sort of thing when it got to the end of it, and I thought it was more or less one tempo the whole time, and one sound, and one sort of riff. It's the sort of thing that you might want to criticise a band for and say, I wish they were a bit more ambitious, I wish they tried other things. But there's no obvious moment where the quality dipped, or where it got boring, or when we went, I wish they... When I was listening to it, I didn't think that. And when I listened to it again, I certainly didn't think that. It's kind of almost more impressive that they're able to nail this formula and grab you by the neck and not let you go for the 32 minutes. At no point do you sort of go, all right, switch it up, lads.
Yeah.
There's the odd little deviations here and there, like the odd intro that will have a bit of a spoken word thing or a sample, or even like, again, that like Spanish guitar that was the Heretic Butcher, but they're just kind of like little accoutrements to kind of like add to the world building. Otherwise, it is just all that, you're right, that just one thing that they are just so good at that. I'm like, I don't need you to mix up more than that at the moment. But on this album, like, for 32 minutes, I'm just going along with you.
They're just getting killers out of it with it. Like Moonlit Torture, which we spoke about as a single. That was one of the songs that at Bloodstock Weekend, it was playing on like the advertising screens. And every time it came round, it like really captured the attention. And that's what I was saying about kind of sounding big. And like the production on this is so good because it's in, kind of lockstep with all the same like metal and hardcore influences that have been going around the underground for years. But this one feels like they've produced it to sound like a big band. Not a mollycoddled, like, sanded down one, but it's not like a reverby basement hardcore job or something. It is huge, and it's meant to sound like a fucking kaiju monster just landing on you. And the one for me in terms of riffs is Committee of Buzzards, which, like, from the start, it's like double bass, palm muting, we are going to whip up a dust storm, and then it has that breakdown with the build that goes on for so long and then cuts out at just the right moment with the sample of may the flames cleanse my soul of this, and bam, that's how you do it. And the picking on these kind of drop moments is just spot on to get this fucking maximum impact out of them.
Well, that's why I think it's so funny when they do the world building thing, because they're setting you up, you're in the desert, the horror cowboy thing. And then as soon as they start playing, you're like, oh no, I've just been chokeslammed at the underworld. Like, there was no point doing any of that because I'm already snapped back to reality. But I'm not going to begrudge them for that. That's all in good fun.
Yeah, it's hilarious hard titles as well. Like I mentioned,
Yeah.
Crucified Heathen Scum, but like at least on my promo copy, at least the like typeface on like 1,000 deaths with just DEATHS, fucking gold. I'm in for Spiritworld's gunslinging version of Slayer and Pantera fueled metallic hardcore. Like it's not exactly original, but every time one of these songs starts, like Ulcer, I just can't help but pull a face and nod my head, and if I'm walking along, lock in tempo, and if I'm that, there are many, many people who have been ingrained and indoctrinated the exact same way to react the same way. So I reckon a lot of people are going to enjoy what Spiritworld have done on Deathwestern.
Yeah, it's been a while for me that I've enjoyed a pure slamming metal record as much as I have this, and to be honest, like, there isn't really one that's even leaping to mind in the last couple of years, so this was really refreshing. I wasn't expecting to love this as much as I do, but it's barely left my listening rotation since I got it.
Yeah.
I think it's just been a good... See, I think it's just been a good year for just metal albums that make me want to throw fists. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I said, like, Malevolence did it, Get the Shot done it. This, I think, is in that league, and I'm like, again, not clever, not sophisticated, doesn't need to be when it's just this fun.